Alright, today we have an iPhone XS Max. A few of the tools you're going to need is going to be a pry tool. You're also going to need a PENTELOBE screwdriver. You're going to need a Y screwdriver and a small Phillips. I have a little Wowstick. I'll leave a link in the description. This is pretty cool, but you can just change out these heads, but you will need a Y screwdriver and a small Phillips screwdriver. I'll leave a link in the description. If you want to, you can also use a hairdryer to heat this up. It's basically just super cracked, and all the cracks lead all over the screens, if you can tell, and whenever you touch, it's not registering. So the back needs to be replaced as well, but we'll save that for another video. Today we're only going to be replacing the front. First thing you always want to do is check your replacement screen. I'll leave a link in the description where I got this one from. I don't really care for the way those cables were bent like that, but so you lay the screen over the top like that and you realize that the cables are over here on this side. So you want to make sure when you take this off, you're very aware of this side. So we're going to start at the bottom, just like pretty much every other iPhone, and you're going to take these two PENTELOBE screws out. I also have this little magnetic board over here, which comes in pretty handy. It's a neat little thing to have. It came with this Wowstick actually, but I'll leave a link in the description where you can get something like that. Remember, the cables are up here on this side, so you take your little pry tool, and you don't have to have this one, it can be something similar, but always kind of start at the bottom, and you're going to lift up, and you can be pretty aggressive with it. You're not really going to do any damage. Just make sure you're pulling up and not pulling down, but you just want to pull up all the way around to get up here to the top. You can be a little bit more careful up here at the top because you got a few little components that you want to be aware of, and then you can come back down here to the bottom and just kind of go along the side. And we're just trying to make that elusive free, and once you do that, you can open it up like a book from left to right. And these are all Y screwdriver, so sometimes depends on the model, they'll change that up a little bit. This is a Y, so we're going to take our little Wowstick, which I'll leave a link in the description. Like I said, I'll talk about this a lot, but I really do like it. It's a pretty neat little tool. But there's going to be 3 screws right here that we're going to take off. They're all Y screwdriver. And I don't know if you can see this, but over here I'm laying them out pretty much the way I took them off. I'll bring this over here so you can see a little better. So I took these off and I laid the screws out exactly, and I can see this is a short screw, this is a little bit longer, and that one's a little bit longer. So make sure that you keep up with where you put your screws. Now, we need to go ahead and disconnect the battery. So it looks like, according to this phone, that this battery cable goes, actually looks like this battery cable goes up under here, so we won't disconnect anything just yet. We're going to take these screws off now. There's 4 of these ones. And make sure that your screwdriver, if you have one, is magnetized. It will make life a lot easier. Also make sure, if you can, I understand it's not always possible, but if you can, try not to work on carpet, because if you drop one of these screws and they land in carpet, man, they're like almost impossible to find. All right, so we want to undo the battery first, and it just depends on the model, but you want to look at the battery, and there's going to be a little cable coming out of the battery, which is right here. It looks like it's this first one right here. You just always want to disconnect the battery. Now this phone is pretty dead, so you're not really going to cause any damage, but it's just kind of a rule to always follow. Always disconnect the battery. And then it's this second one right here. Pull this up. I just use my fingernails. You can use a small plastic pry tool if you want. It's kind of got a little bit of glue right here, so you just pull up on it. Just be careful when you pull up that you're not pulling too hard and accidentally rip the cable, because it can happen. So just go slow, really. Now that you've got this off, we can lay the actual phone to the side. There's going to be 1, 2, and there should be a little one right here. And they're all pretty small, so, and they're all Y screwdriver as well. This little guy right here is always kind of fun. You just got to make sure you get him exactly. Also, forgot to mention, it's always good to have a set of tweezers. I'll leave a link in the description of these. So, a set of tweezers as well. Now you're gonna want to kind of wiggle this free, and this is gonna just fold down, and you can access this top part. So this little gold part right here is kind of just glued down. This little front speaker up here is like shoved into a little crevice. So see if I can get you a good view, but we're gonna try to pull this speaker basically out of this little crevice without damaging it. And sometimes, like I did right there, there's this little plastic piece that holds everything down. If you get underneath that plastic piece, you can get on the right side of this and you can pull it right up. When you pull it right up, this little speaker comes loose, and then you should be able to get under this piece now. And then this little piece, like I said, it's just glued down basically. But just be careful when pulling these off. You can damage these as well. I might just take off this plastic piece just to make it easier, so I can see a little bit better just kind of how glued down it is. This little plastic piece comes right up, and this unfolds right there, and then you can actually grab this from the cable. It's better to do it from the back side. You can grab this from the cable and lift off, and it comes off just like that. But this is the plastic piece, and we're just going to, this has the plastic piece already built in. Some of them don't, so the link I'll give you, it has it. So we're basically gonna lay this back down just the exact way we took it off. And you'll see this little crevice up here where the speaker goes. That kind of fits into place. And this one kind of does the exact same thing over here. Then this little guy goes down. And you're just trying to match up everything the way that it was when you took it off. And it should line up just like that. And then line up your little holes for your screws. Let's go get our screwdriver. And remember what I was saying earlier about lining up your screws. This makes it pretty important when you're screwing them back down. It makes it really easy. Looks like my battery's dying just a little bit. But it makes it really easy when screwing these back if you know which screw came out of which hole. Like I said, this one's always the hardest because it's the smallest. It's just a little bitty guy. And he sometimes likes to pop out because there's another little magnet close to the speaker part. Alright, we got lucky on that one. So you can kind of pull up on it, you can look at it. You just want to make sure that everything looks flush, everything looks level, nothing is too high up. Like this one right here, I think I want to screw it down just a tiny bit more. Not too much, but it looks pretty good right there. Then we're going to take our phone and we're going to connect these pieces back. Now this phone was dead when I received it, so I'm going to have to probably put it on the charger for a good minute. So I'm actually going to, usually I would go ahead and put these cables down and I would test the screen before I put everything back. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and put everything back and then I will power the phone on and then we'll come back and test the screen. Now for some reason something don't work, I'm going to wish that I would have tested the screen before I put everything back. You know what? Take back everything I just said. I'm just going to charge the phone while these cables are just connected. I'm not going to put the other screws back just yet. We're gonna charge this phone and make sure that everything works. Because if something doesn't work, I don't want to open this thing again. It kind of defeats the purpose if you've got to touch something more than one time. So let's work on yourself. Alright, so that's it. Like I said, I think this phone was completely dead. I will try to turn it on and see. If we get an Apple symbol, I'll be pretty shocked. And I'm getting nothing. So we're gonna plug the charger in for a little while and then we'll come back and we'll see if the screen works. All right, so same phone. Screen looks like it's working okay. To do a test, I always click on emergency and just do, you're gonna have a screen, sometimes only the top works, sometimes only the bottom works. And if that's the case, then possibly you didn't put this on right. So we're gonna go ahead and power off this phone. And we're gonna put those screws back that I was talking about. Now you know that everything's in there correctly. So now we can just put everything back. You pretty much just put it back in the order that you took it off. I know I took this off first. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back. This is not a hard repair. Especially if it's possibly your first repair. It's not hard. You gotta have the right tools. You gotta be patient. And you gotta work slow. Don't rush anything. The only time I've ever made a mistake on any of these phones is when I was trying to rush, or somebody wanted their phone too fast, or whatever the case may be. You order the screen, you replace the screen. That's really all you can do. If the phone works, then you did what you were supposed to. If it doesn't, then don't go blaming yourself that you might have messed something up. There could be other issues with the phone. I've got phones before where they were dark, and when I fixed them, they were still dark. It's always a good idea, if the phone will turn on, to turn it on and touch it and mess with it. Now, if you got the phone and you mess with it and everything works just fine before you turned it off, then yeah, it's something you did. But if you ever get a phone that is not powered on, or you can't see the screen, and then you fix it and something is not right, you got to rule out all the options first. So when your phone gets damaged or dropped or broken, however you want to put it, there's all kinds of things that could happen internally. things break. Sometimes people don't tell you the full story. They're like, oh, I dropped it. Okay, let me fix that for you. And then you open it up and you can tell that there's a lot of water damage. And then you ask them about it later after you fix the phone, like, oh yeah, well, I dropped it, but I dropped it in a lake, you know? So try to make sure you get every little bit of information you can before you start working on a phone. It'll save you in the long run. If you know a phone has water damage, you can kind of already know what to look for. And if there's a whole bunch of corrosion on a bunch of the connections, then probably not a lot you can do. There is some stuff you can do, and we can bring phones back sometimes, but water is like my worst enemy. Water just does not do good with phones. I'm gonna turn this phone back on one more time, just make sure that everything looks like it's sitting. If you ever turn the phone on and there's like a big bright spot here or something like that, then more than likely something's pushing on the screen a little too much. Maybe, and it happens a lot, people put these phones in their back pocket and the phone bends like this. And when you put a new screen on the phone, the screen is straight. So when you put the screen on the phone, it's got a weird little bend to it because it's trying to take shape of the phone. And you're gonna have little white dots and stuff around. And sometimes you can't see them too well till you put a whole white screen on there and you turn it up real bright and you'll see them. But if that's the case, then that just means that your phone is crooked. It happens a lot. People put phones in their back pockets and whatnot. But I just go around the edges, make sure everything looks good. Once again, I don't know the passcode to this phone, so I'm just gonna press emergency and just go all the way through. Everything looks like it's working just fine. The little volume button is off, so I'm gonna turn it on, do it again, see if I can hear I can, so it sounds like everything's connected right. So we'll just let this charge and let them know that their phone is ready. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, or anything like that, let me know. You don't have to have a Wowstick. It just makes this a lot faster in my opinion. I basically recorded it as I fixed this phone. I'll have to look at the video, but I don't think it took any more than 15 minutes. Probably took longer to charge it than anything, but said, you guys have any questions or anything, or you don't like the way I did something, I know there's a lot of people that like to wear little static bracelets and all that. I've fixed a ton of phones and I've never had to worry about a static bracelet or anything like that. So if that's something that bothers you, I apologize. Never had an issue with it. Yeah, it's a precaution, and I think it's something you should do if you want to, but I'm not real big on it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Like I said, comments, questions, concerns, something you like, something you didn't like, something you think I missed, let me know. Thanks.